1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Jaded, jaded like you anticipated. Hey, haters gonna hate it. And yeah, it's X-rated. Let my words get you faded. Jaded. Ooh, daddies and mamas of the world. Welcome to episode number 8. My favorite number, infinity and beyond. It's another little musical theater episode, but we're doing it with the bass now, to make it so you could feel it in your gut. I'm incredibly lucky to have my guest here today. We are writing currently a musical together, which is my dream come true. You might know him because he worked on Waffles and Mochi with a little someone, I don't know if you've heard of her, Michelle Obama. He also worked on Drunk History, and we originally met because we went to Emerson College together, and he scored one of the very first films I was ever in called In Dreams. In Dreams. It was about a woman it was about a man who took pills and then he would create his own universe. Please, everybody, welcome Dan Gross to Jaded. Pew, pew, pew. How you doing?
Good. I don't think In Dreams was me.
Was it not?
No, it was the 48-hour film festival.
Oh, fuck. I thought you did that. No, did you not? Did you? I feel like you scored something that I was in college.
Yeah.
Did you?
The 48-hour film festival.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
that was
I'm
my
mixing
first ever.
it up.
It was my first ever released movie.
That's insane. Okay, so I kind of forget what the storyline was that we did. Was it like a weird forest thing?
No, it was about the guy who was in the sitcom when he was a kid, and he used quotes to get you to fall in love with him. Quotes from the sitcom.
That's right. Oh my gosh, I forgot that. I know that's in a reel somewhere. I remember because it was like a swinging scene. I remember that. Wow, man. See, you can't trust your own memory for shit. You know what I mean? You think you know it all, and you're like, that's exactly what happened. That's why we need multiple jurors, people. We can't just have one. Oh, college was so fun, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. I wanted to tell you guys about this experience I had in college. There's this thing called frames per second at Emerson, which is the film program that we destroyed. Our class destroyed it wholeheartedly. I
did one of those too.
Right?
FPS.
It was so fun. Wasn't it such a big such a big deal because basically the school would sponsor these 2 big films, one for fall and one for what is the other one? Spring. Whatever the other season is. And it was a big deal. You'd see your face up in a huge theater. And I don't know if you remember this, but the year before me, or my junior year, there was a guy who was doing a film where he was driving and he crashed the car, and it was a huge fuck up. Do you kind of remember that?
I was working on that. I was driving the only working vehicle because I borrowed my mom's minivan because I grew up an hour south of Boston. He crashed the van, and then I think he might have left because he just got really overwhelmed. But I think he was the only one licensed to drive it, so they're in a bit of a pickle.
But didn't I remember it? They recorded it and they put it in the film, and you could see him kind of crashing the side of the mirror, and it was like, what? It was so nuts. Everything mattered so much too, because nobody ever shoots on film anymore. But it's so expensive to shoot on film, and I was doing a movie with this director, Adam Catino, and he was a senior. Are you still friends with Adam? Yeah.
I know, yeah.
So, and I was a freshman at the time, and I booked this film. It was such a big deal. It was such a big deal. I didn't have a lot of scenes in it, except this one really important one where I'm killing someone, and they want to shoot it from underneath, They're like, ooh, we're going to shoot it from underneath, and you're going to be slashing away, and then, blood's going to be splattering all over your face. And it was when I was still at Emerson and took acting very seriously. And so, I'm preparing myself, doing all the breath work, and I finally go to do it, and I just can't hit the little thing of blood underneath. So they're like, okay, we're going to have somebody hold it. And I'm like, what do you mean you're going to have somebody hold it? This is a real hatchet. I had a real hatchet in my hand. And they're like, Adam will hold it. Adam, the director, will hold it. So he puts on a workman's glove, and he's like, I'm just going to hold it under here. And I'm like, I'm probably going to cut you. He's like, let's just do it. So I go and I'm slashing, and on the 3rd slash, I feel my hatchet go rip through the glove. And I look at one of the producers, you know, and it's filmed, so they can't like really cut it together. They're like, keep it rolling. And I'm like, you know, like blood's coming out. I'm just getting splattered. And then
With like real blood too?
they're like, no, well, no blood, real blood is splattering at me. Like fake blood is splattering all over my face. And then they call cut and he's like, oh, and he takes out the glove and he's just bleeding like profusely from his hand.
No.
And I was a freshman. And I was like, I'm never gonna work again. Never gonna work again. I'm done in this town. That's kind of a cool song. I gotta pick up hooking. I'm done in this town. I cut this guy's hand and now I'm done. But Adam and I are still like super close.
So it was Adam's hand.
Yeah, it was Adam's hand. And he still has like a little scar there, which is pretty crazy. What are you gonna do? I tried to do like a little bit of a episode about misogyny and like taking back my woman power, and then I just like couldn't even get the words out. It's so fucking embarrassing. I was like, what am I even doing? But speaking of women, I'm out of breath from chasing my fucking dog. Speaking of women, I like to highlight a female business on every episode, and this is Vera Meat. Look how cool this is. She's this Russian chick. I think she's Russian. She's this cool chick in New York. But I thought this would be an exciting episode because since Dan is here, I wanted to pull out some college stories. I don't know if you ever did this, but when I came back from the castle, so Emerson has this castle. I've talked about it. Did you do the Broad program?
I went to Berkeley.
Oh, yeah.
There just weren't any film projects or a lot of girls when I was there.
At Emerson, you mean?
No, at Berkeley.
At Berkeley,
so I was just, and also all my roommates were Emerson too.
Yeah, so you're like, fuck that. Mm-hmm. But there's a program, and you go to this castle, and that's really cool. But when we returned, Emerson didn't have any dorms left. They were like, where do we put these college kids?
Oh, the DoubleTree.
They put us in the DoubleTree. And it was like, it was the most exciting. I just like face fucked the mic. I was like, it was the most exciting thing. Cause one, you'd show up and you'd be like, yes, I do want a warm chocolate cookie. Yum.
Oh, they had free food in the lobby?
Yeah, they'd have free food. There was a maid that came and cleaned my room.
Oh my
Mondays
God.
and Wednesdays. We also rigged it so that we could, anytime somebody ordered a porn, we could see it. It was so exciting. And then on top of that, one of my friends, like one of the college kids, slept with one of the dudes who worked the lobby, like who was like one of the frontmen for the DoubleTree. What is like they're in a band? Oh, me, I'm the frontman for the DoubleTree. So we like kind of blackmailed him. I know that sounds horrible, but we're like, it wouldn't sound good if they found out that you slept with her. So we basically just would go into like their closet of minibar accessories and would just have backpacks full of like tiny little liquor bottles, and God, we ran that place rampant. It was one of those courtyards, you know, like the DoubleTree courtyard. Ooh, what's something faster with that? Like, let's see if we can get a song going with the DoubleTree. Everybody come out. The DoubleTree's in town tonight. Ooh. You guys want warm cookies? You want free porn in your hotel rooms? This is the place to be. Oh, DoubleTree. You can be free at the DoubleTree. Showers and maids twice a week. Just don't live there forever, cause it's weird if you live in a hotel room as an adult. But it was cool, like, so it was a courtyard, and when it would snow, the middle of the courtyard would just be all snow, and we just jump from our windows into the snow, just get wasted on tiny bottles of alcohol.
Are you guys the reason that hotel windows don't really open more than an inch?
We are the reason. By the way, doesn't that bother you so much? As a pothead, when I'm on the road, I just want to smoke weed from my own hotel room and not feel like I have to blow it into the toilet.
Just turn the shower on and close the
trick?
door. I just have a weed pen now.
All right,
I get a little stuffy when I smoke real weed, indoors at least.
That is the most Jewish thing you've ever said. Yeah, you know, I just get a little bit stuffy when I smoke that weed on the inside.
I feel like I sounded a little stuffed up when I said it.
All of a sudden, whenever you talk about being stuffed, you get stuffed.
I mean, my allergies, they kind of make me talk like this.
I didn't even understand what allergies were until I moved to LA, and I was like, oh, I can't open my eyes today. Is that the depression, or is that the allergies?
Do I just not want to wake up?
Yeah, or is it the hangover? But Emerson was just like such an incredible, amazing experience where everybody like did so many drugs and they were creative and it was so cool. But I never really like fucked with drugs. I did mushrooms for the first time when I was at the castle. That was like just an incredible fun experience. Everybody had toast with Nutella covered in mushrooms.
Where was the castle again?
It was in Vel, which is a tiny town about an hour from Amsterdam and Rotterdam. And Rotterdam is fucking sick.
Yeah, I remember it was the one. How did they have a castle? What college owns a castle?
They own a castle. They owned a castle and it had peacocks. I would be woken up. They had a moat. It was like a real legit castle.
I mean, was it that to prevent burglars or?
Oh yeah, it was just all the people trying to rob us and the peacocks would be like, no, you can't. Also, peacocks are dicks. They're dicks. You think they're majestic, beautiful, like animals. They're not. They're feisty. Because everybody's trying to take those feathers.
Oh, I thought you said like, oh, they have dicks. I know that there's like some birds that have penises. I just didn't know if like.
Are there? Yeah. Do you know duck penises are super long? They like unravel out. They're like this long.
Oh.
Duck dicks. Duck dicks. It's an adventure and duck dicks. They roll out. It's really crazy. Duck dicks. But yeah. I don't even know where I was going. Oh yeah, the peacocks in the moat, and it was in this tiny town called Vel, where it was like population, maybe like 200, like really tiny town, and everybody's lawn in the Netherlands is very manicured. They all look like these tiny little hobbit houses, and God, I love Dutch people. Dankjewel, alsjeblieft. It was just the most fun time. I was just drinking brown beer and hanging out, going to college, seeing art, but I was kind of nervous, so I only did mushrooms that one time, and then I came out to LA and, did drugs because why not? And this one opportunity came up. This one comic, Tess Barker, was like, you know what? I want to do mushrooms and go to the Price is Right. Like I have a friend who works there and I want to get a big group of comics. We're all going to go to the Price is Right. And my ex and I at the time were like, I don't know. It was like on a Monday morning, by the way. Like, I don't know. No, we want to do this. It was like, you have to be there at like 10.
That's not so bad.
And we weren't going to go. We were like nervous about going because we were tired and partying a lot the weekend before. But then we like saw her Sunday night. She's like, you guys are coming, right? And we were like, So we show up kind of late. The limo's already there. So everybody's kind of packing onto this limo. So she gets this limo. It's
That's
like
fun.
And it's like all these big comics, all these fun people, all like Barbara Gray, Parna. It was like, such a fun group. And I was so excited. And we wanted to catch up. So we got there and we shared a bagel, just half a bagel. I had half of a half, but just covered in mushrooms. Like I do mushrooms now pretty often and I'll do like a microdose and I feel crazy already. So like just covered in mushrooms and we're like smoking weed. I had one of those tiny little champagne to-goes with a little straw. And I just eat it all up. I don't know why, by the way. Reckless behavior. I know better than this. I went to college. So we get in the limo and it's fun. It's colorful. And we're driving towards Melrose. And I see one of those, it was like a sign for Veep. It was in the first season. By the way, if you haven't seen Veep, go give that a binge. It's one of the best shows ever fucking written. I look up at the Veep sign and her smile is just getting like wider and bigger and weirder. And I'm like, it's not right. I'm already tripping and it's been like minutes, I feel like, since I've gotten there. So we get to the Price is Right. And I don't know, a lot of people have you gone? Have you ever gone?
No.
So it's like it's on Melrose and Fairfax, which is like a busy intersection of Los Angeles, right? Nobody wants to be there. People are going to work.
Kind of herded like cattle.
Yeah, like it's just a ton of people. And then you're like you're in this big line waiting to go in. So we're sitting in line and I'm getting, when you're like kind of getting fucked up and you start to kind of like lose control of the high. You're supposed to just like go with it, but I'm not really that chill. So I was like, starting to kind of fight it and started to kind of panic. And I told my ex, like, look, I'm just going to walk over there. And he's like, no, I'm coming with you. Next thing I know, I'm passed out and I wake up and I'm at like the bus stop, like on the corner. And I look up and I see this woman walking by and she's crying tears of blood. And I'm like, oh, fuck, this is really, really bad. I have to go. So we get in the taxi and I am just like I'm seeing have you ever had a super, like, it gets so, I don't know if, I don't want to deter people away from doing mushrooms because they're the best, but I was having like the worst trip of my life and I could feel it, and it was just coming in these waves, and every time I closed my eyes I would just like see rape and death and my family being murdered, and then we get home and I'm just projectile vomiting, you know, and every time I look in the mirror, my head is shrunken, just a tiny shrunken head. Like, have you seen Beetlejuice, like the guy in the waiting room? Like, I just had this tiny head with a little bit of hair, like a little troll on the top.
That's in the bathroom?
Yeah, I'm looking in the mirror. Every time I'm looking in the mirror, my eyes are fully black. I don't know why that happens.
You just taking a lot more color because your eyes dilate. Well,
Yeah,
I don't
so
know why
maybe,
they
yeah.
But your eyes act like it's darker, and that's why everything is like, whoa.
Yeah, but something happens to when you're on mushrooms. It's just so fucked up. Yeah, and people are like, don't look at the mirror. But like when I'm actually having a good trip, I love looking in the mirror. It just, you feel like you're outside of yourself, but you're also like in charge. It's just, so I'm having this like horrible shrunken head, and it's just fucking horrible. And you know, my ex is like having a great trip, and he's just like, oh, hanging out, looking at the popcorn ceiling, being like, this is the best. And you know, meanwhile, everybody else got into The Price is Right. So it was a group of like, I don't know, 15, 20 comics, and they made it onto the show. And I'll post this after the podcast comes on, but Josh Androsky, one of the comics, made it on the show, fully fucked out of his head on mushrooms. I think he told this story on NPR, heard of it? He ended up winning a brown diamond ring, which is like, I think worth thousands of dollars. But it was when Drew Carey was the host, and Drew's like, well, what do you do? And he's like, I'm a skateboarding rabbi. And then everybody that posted the video was like, comic stoned. I was like, he's a little more than stoned. But it's funny that the best day of his life, like one of the best days of his life, was literally one of the worst days of my life.
That would have been so surreal and funny had you not been having a horrible trip.
I overdid it. That's the problem. You can't do, it's like that good old story, you know, like age as old as time story, where it's like, I didn't feel anything, and then I just had one tiny more little bite. And that's when I saw my dad in the mirror. Do we got eyes on the dog?
Yep.
Oh, cool. She didn't escape. Yep. That's good.
She's resigned to mope.
I know. You know, I feel like and this is not against people that are, what's it when you don't drink or smoke? What's it called? I'm kidding. What's it called?
Sober?
No, not sober, but like straight edge.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not knocking it, because you know what? Some people have addiction in their family and blah, blah, blah. But there is something that sometimes we hold on to stuff so tight inside of us, can't be released without a little nudge of a drug. Remember when Homer goes into that weird dimension, and it's like, it's so crazy that we all know like The Simpsons, like as if it's like things that happen to us. Mm-hmm. The one memory I always think of when I think of The Simpsons is the three-eyed fish that was like the poisonous one. Remember the puffer fish that was like a poisonous? Every time I eat sushi, I think of that.
I think you're...
Am I fucking that up? Am I mixing that up?
There was the poisonous fish episode.
And then there's like
then there was the three-eyed fish from the
all the
pond.
junk in the water, yeah. But it's interesting. I'm fascinated with how we keep certain memory and keep like in certain parts of our brain. Like for example, Portuguese is my given language. Portuguese é a minha primeira língua. Sometimes when I'm speaking Portuguese more often, I'm around people who are speaking Portuguese, I have these memories flood back to me that I haven't thought of in years. Like they're just kept away in this part of my brain that only speaks Portuguese. Like I don't have a lot of memories about my childhood. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's like a trauma thing or just the pothead thing, but it's also like, it does feel like they kind of get released when I'm speaking Portuguese. I don't know if people, please share your experiences with me, but like I was in Brazil a couple of years ago, and my cousin started singing the song, and I just started singing along. And if you would have asked me if I knew that song, I would have been like, no. It was just a weird, like it's deep in your program. And I think that's why it's so important for people to talk about like trauma and talk about things that have happened to them out loud, because you don't even realize that to make this little like weird dent in your system. And that's why it's like, just take drugs and see what happens.
Do you ever dream in Portuguese?
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember the very first time that I dreamt in English. Like I remember the very first dream I had. I was like 13. I just moved to the States, and I picked up English pretty quickly, like considering, because it was a necessity, and I didn't want to be bullied anymore, and I didn't want to be Brazilian anymore. I was just like, I want to fit in. I love bacon and eggs. I'm American. But I remember my very first dream, and it was in black and white, and I had never dreamt in black and white before. It was almost like one step at a time. Like I hadn't gotten to the full realized colorful dream in English yet, but I never dream in Portuguese ever.
Huh.
But I sometimes think in Portuguese, and then I'll say a Portuguese word in an English accent, hoping that it's a correct word. Like the other day, I was thinking of like the word endless or like huge, and I was like vacuous, but vacuous means like empty, and like, but in my head, for some reason, because of a word in Portuguese, it meant like huge, open air to me. Like association is interesting when you know multiple languages.
The word vacuous, the word vacuous definitely sounds, it sounds more prestigious than being empty.
Yeah, it's like vacuous. It means like empty-minded or like empty
it's just,
substance or.
But it sounds like if you didn't know what it meant, it sounds like it would have, you would guess it was like, oh, vacuous, great, grand, vast.
Yeah, and I thought that I would do really well on SATs because I'm such a fucking like, I love studying, but I couldn't like. Well, one, they're designed by white men for white men. Like we got to get rid of those kinds of tests. But like my dad would always, it always stuck with me because my dad was like, you can always think of the Latin root of the word and find your way. Because it's always going to be closer to a Portuguese word because of all the Latin rooted languages.
Except for the other half of English, which is Germanic.
Germanic. Like, and that's what would always fuck me up. Like, so I would just be stuck and I'd be like, what's this word? What's that? But I think it's really important that you teach your kids multiple languages. Like, because I don't know, like when I'm speaking Portuguese, it's in a different part of my throat. Fica tão gostoso falar português, gente. Eu tenho uma voz diferente quando eu falo português, não parece? Eu devo fazer um episódio só para as minhas amigas brasileiras. E mais meus amigos brasileiros também. I just was talking so much shit about you guys. No, I was just saying I should do a whole Portuguese episode because your throat develops in a different way when you speak different languages. Like there's a word in Portuguese or a sound in Portuguese where it's A and an O and it's a little snake above it. What's that called? I forget. Asterisk? No, that's not it. The little snake. I think that's the technical English dictionary term. The little snake thing above the A. And it's the sound.
El squiggle.
El squiggle? Yeah, of course. And it's called, it's own. It's the sound own. Do it.
Own.
See, so when you're American, it always like sounds like ow, because there's a weird part of your throat that develops when you're young. Like after the age of 12 and 13, you're pretty solid in whatever language you're going to be. So like when you hear people from Brazil, they're like, they moved when they're like 17, they're going to have like very strong accents.
Yeah.
I wish I had an accent. It would be so cool to have like a Brazilian accent. That's not even Brazilian. That's more like Sofia Vergara.
Yeah, is she Colombian?
She's Colombian. Jade. God, I was like really up Modern Family's dick the first couple seasons. They couldn't make it fast enough. I love things that like make you laugh and then make you cry at the end. I love a roller coaster of emotions. No, but you know that the show is they're so good. They're such a machine. The show is 21 minutes, okay? They have one joke per minute, one punchline per minute in every script. Isn't that brilliant? It's hard to do that. I mean, you write music.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of joke.
Yeah, I improvised on the show and got in a lot of trouble.
Oh, so
they were not into it.
Writers are just like, what the hell is she doing?
Yeah, and one of the actors was like, do it. It'll be so fun. And then I got yelled at, and he was like, oh yeah, somebody else got yelled at for doing that. I was like, why didn't you encourage me to do this? It was such a fucked up thing. I was like, what do you mean? But improvising is so fun. You just gotta get a little. When did you start playing the bass? Wait, what was your first instrument that you started playing?
I started playing piano when I was like 4 or 5. Just started picking it up. I came out of a synagogue and started playing a song I heard. Took lessons from my dad. That was a bunch of screaming. Took a old lady piano lessons from Mrs. Wing.
Mrs. Wing? How was
Yeah.
she? Was she strict or was she like really sweet?
Well, it was like, hey, wow, Dan's really good at piano. And then she realized that I actually had trouble reading music.
Oh.
But I was memorizing all the stuff she'd play for me. And then she wouldn't play it for me first. And then I started having meltdowns. And,
Yeah, because you'd get away with learning. Like you kind of just would get away. Yeah.
And then I quit, at the end of 4th grade. And then I started playing like all the time and teaching myself over there. And then I picked up saxophone then. And then in 5th grade, picked up guitar in 7th grade and bass in 8th.
God, like I didn't even speak English then, and you were like already playing 5 instruments. And I think there's another part of your brain that also opens up when you play music that you don't hear. Music, comedy, anything artistic is so subjective, and so much of how you're raised and what you're exposed to makes you available to like things. Isn't that interesting? Like men that are just, or like, people that are just very small-minded and just like one brand of thing, they just weren't exposed. Like they don't have the taste buds. When you're a baby, you're supposed to be like eating like pickles and olives and stuff like that. Well, not a baby, when you're allowed to do solid foods, because you create these taste buds.
Yeah, that's why some people I've even worked with, like fantastic musicians, I'll show them like a Broadway song and they're like, what the fuck is this? And like a hip hop person, I showed him some Hamilton, and he was like, this is really, really not cool.
Yeah, people are really upset about, like, I have a lot of rapper friends too who are like, Hamilton is garbage. And I don't feel either way. Like, I saw it, I thought it was beautiful, and I've gotten really into the soundtrack, and it's just really fun to sing along, but
it's Broadway first,
Broadway.
And then it's themed in, it's still super Broadway. It just has hip hop in it.
like people get so insulted. I think honestly, musical theater makes people insults people. It like gets people really in a doozy.
But I was raised with it, so
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, cool. Like I know these beats. These are fun, and
Yeah.
and it's supposed to be like, it's not like there's a campiness to it,
That's what it is, camp. I think camp upsets people. Like, I don't love super campy drag queens. That's not really my style of drag queen. Let me just get that out there. But yeah, when you see it done well, you're like, it's so refreshing and exciting. And
I think that it's not that people are not into camp. People are only into camp that they are comfortable.
Comfortable.
They're
comfortable.
Comfortable.
Are you comfortable?
It's like that. No, Broadway is not my camp. I like these silly magazines or like these silly comic books.
Yeah.
It's campy, but I love them. But not Broadway.
When do you think Broadway's coming back? Do you think 2022 we're going to see a little refresher, or no?
Probably later. Well, you need a big old audience to make that profitable. I don't know if you can really make money at 25% capacity.
Shite. I miss Broadway.
But we're looking towards like everybody getting vaccinated before flu
So
season.
exciting.
We're all going to get normal flus.
Yeah, hey, you're going to get just a... I'm sorry, Cheryl's now taken over Sam's lap. She's taken over. Oh, hey, I just want to take a moment to say also, if you've been listening since Ep 1, thank you for joining us. This has been such a beautiful learning process for me. I'm personally so sick of my voice, but I'm excited that you guys are not yet. And, let me know how you're feeling, and tell all your family to subscribe. I feel like there's a lot of dad jokes in here. I feel like your dads would be into this, right? No? My guest doesn't even agree with me, so never mind. Don't tell anybody about it. We're done. I don't know why just any kind of music just soothes my soul. Like, I've never really met a song that I'm like, well, no, that's not true. Remember when Rebecca, that girl, came out with that Friday song? And it was like really popular. Like, she was like, Friday, Friday, Friday. It was just like, that insulted me. I think that's probably the only kind of, I'm sorry, honey, if you're out there, I'm sorry.
You know where that, like, I might be wrong about, I'm pretty sure that it was that, I think that it was like a girl, her dad hired a music producer to make the song.
Yeah.
And then, so it was just kind of like a Sweet 16 part present, but it ended up making money. That dad was a good investor, I guess.
He's really smart. It became like a viral thing. She just came out with a remix, and it's like really crazy. She's like all sexy now and all grown up. You know what I mean? Like, I love how it's like we're so innocent when we're little, and then we're like, I actually think I'm more innocent now than when I was a kid. I've like evened out. I've done it all. I'm done except DMT, and I've never done acid. I feel like I'm too scared of acid. I'd like to try it in like a safe environment. Like the other day I found through a friend had posted about doing therapy with mushrooms, like a mushroom therapy guy. And I was so excited. I was like, finally, this is what I've been looking for, where, he does a few sessions with you, gets to know your trauma, and then he monitors when you do mushrooms, and it's all in a capsule. And this guy's really selling it for me. He's saying all the right things. He said horoscope a couple times, got me real excited about that. I was like, I'm horny for signs. Let's do this. And then he's like, and it's $2,000 for the first session. And then it's like $5,000 every time you do it was just like a ridiculous amount of money for someone who's like, you know what I mean? Kind of traveling into like the unknown. It should be sort of, I don't know. I mean, I understand it's his business, but I was just like shocked.
There's going to be a lot of rich people who are like, wait, so $500 for your services and the mushrooms are $4,500? Like, is that how they always cost? Like, yeah, and they're very hard to find.
Yeah, they're super hard to find. Mushrooms are hard to find. And you're not going to be, and he's like, like unselling me on all the other experiences. Like, hey, if you went to Peru, and you did ayahuasca, you'd be puking all over yourself. Not here.
No.
Not here. And we could talk it out. And he sends you this questionnaire, where you have to like really, take your time. And I'm like, so wait, I have to pay you thousands of dollars and do fucking homework on top of it? This doesn't sound very healing to me.
Just go to the fucking desert camping. Like, that's like what it's designed for.
No, I know, but I do want to have like because I'm a little bit of like a control freak. So like, if I'm in my own environment where I'm like taking care of things, like I need somebody to be not on drugs. You know what I mean? Like I need somebody to be like kind of helping me through it. If you're that guy, give me a call.
Every time you do them, you need to have somebody sober?
No. I think I'm overdue for like kind of one of those trips where like, you see some stuff and you kind of feel it for a couple. I love like the hangover mushrooms where you're like, all right. You just have this like little leftover happiness. Like, yeah, life's not that bad. Like, I'll have more than one Patreon one day. Also, hopefully by now I have more Patreons. But again, another shout out to whoever it is. If it's my dad with a different name, I don't care. Thanks, Dad. But yeah, wow, this kind of became like a weird drug, like a weird druggy drug. And you know what's the one drug that I like cannot stand? Alcohol. Fucks me. I mean, I'll have a couple drinks. My favorite drink? Aperol Spritz. If you haven't had one of those, little Aperol, which is an orange flavored liqueur. You add a little soda water, add a little champagne, a little orange slice, and it's just refreshing and it sneaks up on you like a bitch. You're like, I thought we were just gonna have dinner and now we're wasted, stumbling home. But yeah, alcohol, I've always had a really weird relationship with it. It's not good for me. It's just my body doesn't digest it well. Like if I have like 2 or 3 drinks, I'll be like blackout. And my fascination with drinking is like, when you're blackout, right? People are like, that's really when the truth comes out. I disagree. I think that you're just actually fucking blackout and you're like on a weird supply of like barely getting through.
Yeah, I don't know if that's after your 10 drinks in, that's when you're your most genuine self.
Yeah, like people are like, but you can't be lying because alcohol is like truth juice. And you're like, no, it's not. What the fuck are you talking about? You make out and have sex with the grossest people when you're drunk.
Yeah, I mean, when you're that drunk, then you tell people how you really feel. I know how you really feel. You have to puke.
Yeah, I know how you really feel. You're an alcoholic. And it's hard for people to, and it's like such a fine line of like, you're an alcoholic / like, you just love to have a good time, like, but my thing is like, there's nothing more disgusting than when somebody's drunk and like falling over and stumbling. And then you add heels and pussy flashings and just like dudes talking way too close to your face.
Oh yeah. And you can smell what they just drank.
Yeah. It's like, it's just such a disgusting, like, I'm being really judgmental. Hey, if you'd like to have a few drinks, do your thing. Have your poison. I'm talking about mushrooms like it's candy, so it's not fair. But yeah, for me personally, I've always had a weird like, ugh. I like my favorite part of mushrooms. I'm just going back, just talking about how much I love mushrooms. Like your perspective of size really changes. Like, do you ever feel this? Like, for me, like, I'll feel real tiny, but not tiny like skinny or like thin, or like, I feel like, you know, like Alice Wonderland style. Like, I ate a cookie and now I'm tiny and everything else is huge, or vice versa. And I love that weird perspective of like size shift. That's like probably my favorite thing. Whoever wrote, or whenever they wrote Alice in Wonderland, they were definitely on fucking mushrooms, right? Nobody's like, and then I'll take a purple cat and have him talk.
I mean, maybe it was like absinthe, but like real absinthe.
Oh yeah, I've had some real absinthe. That really messes you up too. Oh, I love when you do absinthe and like they do the little drip, like into the sugar drip. It's very Netherlands.
I mean, why not just add the sugar to the drink when you make it?
Because it's the way that you it's the way that you distill it. It has to like go through the sugar. It's like, you know, it's like coffee connoisseurs. You're like, come on, man, just do the regular fucking like anybody that's a little too snoot about anything, like, no, this is how you drink wine. You know, like, just come on. Like, there's a time and place. Like, don't impose your weird like extra knowledge on things on me. Okay, this is how I drink wine. I'm kidding. I just went through talking about how I don't like alcohol. I'm a liar. It's been such a lovely time to have you here. Is there anything that you would like to plug besides, you know, your TV show you did with the Obamas? Oh, you have some videos. What are your socials where people can find you?
Dan Gross Music at Instagram.gov.
Did you guys get that? Did you write that down? It's really important. And Dan is helping me put one of the most important projects that I've ever done on its feet, and it's just this incredible collaborative program, and I'm just so excited. And hopefully by the end of May it'll be up, so when this episode comes out, it'll be baking in the oven, Dally. But thank you guys so much for listening. Please do all the fun homework. Subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow my socials at Jade's Podcast. Look up the website for all the road dates. I think when this comes out, I'm going to be in San Diego pretty soon, and then also Rochester. Got some dates on the books. Going to try to do some of the music stuff. Yeah. You've been jaded. You just got jaded, so how do you feel? Cool. We're done. Jaded. Mano, vamos ficar jadeada. Vamos lá.